What if the most expensive thing at the wellness spa is just cold water? Cold water therapy is not new. Roman soldiers soaked in frigid baths after battle. Physician James Curry documented cold immersion, treating fever patients in Liverpool in 1797. The biology has always been there. The moment your body hits water below 59 degrees Fahrenheit, your sympathetic nervous system fires. Blood vessels near the skin constrict. Your heart rate spikes. Your body is not relaxing. It's mobilizing for survival. That survival signal triggers a massive norepinephrine release. A 2008 study by Nikolai Shevchuk, published in Medical Hypotheses, found cold shower exposure raised norepinephrine levels by up to 300%. Norepinephrine isn't just an adrenaline cousin. It regulates attention, mood, and pain perception simultaneously. That post-plunge mental clarity people rave about has a specific molecular address. Here's where it gets harder. The benefits are dose-dependent, and the wellness industry conveniently forgets to mention the dose. Duration, temperature, and frequency all determine whether you're getting physiology or just theater. Water at 68 degrees Fahrenheit activates cold receptors but produces minimal metabolic response. Drop to 50 degrees and brown adipose tissue activates. Below 40 degrees, cold shock response intensifies and hypothermia risk becomes real. Brown adipose tissue, brown fat, is metabolically active fat that burns energy to generate heat. Adults carry small deposits near the neck and spine. Cold exposure at 50 to 59 degrees Fahrenheit consistently activates it, confirmed in a 2014 Journal of Clinical Investigation study. Repeated cold exposure over 3 to 4 weeks measurably increases brown fat volume and baseline metabolic rate. The numbers are modest, but 2013 Diabetes Journal study found roughly 30 extra calories burned per day, meaningful over months, not a weight loss switch. The wellness industry takes these modest findings and performs what scientists call outcome inflation. 30 extra calories becomes a metabolism revolution. A norepinephrine spike becomes a cure for depression. The biology is real. The marketing is fiction. The anti-inflammatory claim has solid footing. Cold immersion reduces circulating interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, two primary inflammatory markers. That's why elite athletes on Dutch national cycling teams have used ice baths post-race since at least the 1990s. A 2012 Cochrane Systematic Review, the gold standard of evidence aggregation, analyzed 17 trials and concluded cold water immersion significantly reduced delayed onset muscle soreness compared to passive rest. The effect was real and reproducible across sports. Here's the counterintuitive twist the plunge tub influencers never mention. That same inflammation cold suppresses after a race? It's also the signal your muscles use to grow stronger after resistance training. Suppress the signal, suppress the adaptation. A 2019 study in the Journal of Physiology by Roberts and colleagues found cold water immersion after strength sessions blunted long-term muscle hypertrophy compared to active recovery. Cold plunges aren't universally beneficial. Context determining. The nervous system story is more compelling than the muscle story. Cold immersion triggers the vagus nerve, shifting the body toward parasympathetic dominance after the initial shock subsides. That shift is measurable, and it begins within minutes of entering the water. Heart rate variability, a measure of nervous system resilience, increases measurably in the 60 minutes following cold immersion. The Framingham Heart Study, which tracked cardiovascular markers across thousands of participants over decades, established that higher heart rate variability correlates strongly with better stress recovery and reduced cardiovascular mortality. Cold immersion moves that needle in the right direction. A question you probably didn't come in asking: does deliberately enduring discomfort actually train psychological resilience, or is that just expensive suffering? The neuroscience here is specific and recent. Controlled, voluntary stress, entering cold water knowing you can exit. activates the prefrontal cortex differently than involuntary stress. Research published in Cell Reports Medicine in 2023 by Soberg and colleagues found deliberate cold exposure produced distinct autonomic nervous system signatures compared to passive cold stress, confirming that the voluntary choice component is neurologically distinct and genuinely strengthens stress regulation circuitry over time. Dopamine is the deeper reward. Unlike the sharp spike from food or social media, cold exposure produces a sustained dopamine elevation lasting 2 to 3 hours post-immersion, documented in human studies. That's the actual reason wealthy people feel so good about their morning plunge. Here's where the wealth angle sharpens. A premium cold plunge tub from brands like Plunge or Ice Barrel retails between $3,000 and $6,000. A chest freezer filled with water costs roughly $200. The physiology is identical. Cold plunging became a status signal in Silicon Valley around 2018, accelerating through the pandemic years when biohacking culture exploded online. By 2023, the global cold plunge equipment market was valued at over $130 million and growing at 8% annually, according to Grandview Research's 2023 Wellness Equipment Market Report. Wim Hof, the Dutch athlete who climbed Kilimanjaro in shorts in 2009, became the unlikely ambassador who dragged cold exposure from fringe endurance culture into mainstream wellness. His 2011 controlled study with Radboud University gave the practice its first serious scientific credibility. The risks are real, and the wellness industry buries them. Cold shock response, the involuntary gasp and hyperventilation in the first 30 seconds, is the leading cause of cold water drowning deaths. Cardiac arrhythmia risk spikes in people with undiagnosed heart conditions. Cold adaptation requires a protocol, not a plunge. Starting with 30-second cold showers at the end of a warm shower, then extending duration weekly over 4 weeks, reduces cold shock severity by allowing the body to recalibrate its thermoregulatory baseline incrementally. Cold showers produce an estimated 70 to 80% of the norepinephrine and dopamine benefit of full immersion, a figure derived from comparing immersion and shower protocols in Shevchuk's 2008 medical hypotheses work, alongside partial immersion data in the sports science literature, rather than a single head-to-head trial. Full immersion adds vagal activation from hydrostatic pressure on the torso. The shower isn't inferior, it's accessible. The longevity claim is the most seductive and the least proven. Cold exposure activates certain longevity-associated pathways, FOXO3 gene expression, mitochondrial biogenesis. But no human trial has yet demonstrated measurable lifespan extension from cold plunging alone. Cold exposure, as one tool within a broader protocol, quality sleep, zone 2 cardio, resistance training, caloric adequacy, compounds. As a standalone intervention, the evidence is promising but not yet extraordinary. Stacking it correctly is the real discipline. Timing matters more than most protocols acknowledge. Cold immersion within 2 hours of strength training blunts hypertrophy. Cold immersion in the morning extends daytime alertness via sustained norepinephrine. Cold immersion within 2 hours of bedtime disrupts the core temperature drop needed for deep sleep. The Dutch national speed skating team, multiple Olympic gold medalists, has used structured cold water immersion as part of their recovery protocol since the 2002 Salt Lake City Games. Their sports science staff tracks biomarkers to calibrate dose. That's the model worth copying. Here's the tension the wellness industry never resolves. The same tool that accelerates recovery for an endurance athlete actively undermines the training of someone chasing muscle growth. Plunging without knowing which category you fall into isn't biohacking, it's guessing with cold water. The protocol isn't optional. The evidence-based protocol looks like this: 11 minutes per week total, split across 2 to 4 sessions, at 50 to 59 degrees Fahrenheit, in the morning, not after strength training. That number, 11 minutes, comes from Huberman Labs' 2021 synthesis of the strongest available human data. Cold water works, but skip the timing rules and you'll blunt the muscle gains you trained for, disrupt the sleep that consolidates them, and trigger a cardiac stress response your doctor never cleared you for. The physiology doesn't forgive improvisation. Know the protocol, or the plunge works against you.